In Heartland Season 17, Episode 4, Emmy has to deal with Lindy's recent horse anxiety. Logan holds himself responsible for Miley's mishap. Tim gathers the family to ensure Shane's seamless return to the Heartland, and Katie faces difficulties in her friendship. After Episode 3 concluded, we saw Miley, Logan's girlfriend, attempt a barrel race on Rocky, the horse Tim had asked Logan to train. However, Rocky threw Miley off in the middle of the run, leaving Miley comatose on the ground. Fortunately, Heartland didn't have us wait too long to learn whether Miley was all right. This episode began with Miley arriving in Heartland and getting out of her truck by herself. Other than that, she seemed to be in fine health. She was still awaiting the results of an MRI to confirm that her tailbone was not fractured. Lindy was primarily helped by Miley's visit to the ranch because she was experiencing nightmares due to seeing Miley fall. However, Logan's sadness over Miley's accident was evident. It didn't help that they still had to watch the video that Logan captured of Miley falling, as well as continue working with Rocky to figure out what went wrong. However, Logan and Amy's viewing of the footage did result in one positive thing. Amy saw that Miley was sporting bumper spurs at the time of Rocky's throw, and when Amy mounted Rocky while donning the same spurs, Rocky began to buck, proving her argument. Amy was relieved that they had finally discovered the truth. It didn't, however, make Logan feel any less angry because he focused on how Miley was harmed, because he didn't notice Rocky had a spur problem rather than how Miley was okay, and now they understood how to heal Rocky. As the caring mentor that she is, Amy made an effort to assist Logan in overcoming his phobia. Together they worked with Rocky and came up with a strategy for acclimating him to the spurs. However, after a setback, Logan resumed blaming himself for Miley's accident, so much so that it caused a fight between Amy and Logan. Logan was still in shock at Miley's injury, and Amy was also apprehensive about Shane's coming. Lindy's nightmares had kept her up at night, and later on, they did apologize to one another. However, nothing has returned to normal yet. Logan and Amy made tremendous progress after they calmed down and resumed their work. By the end of the show, Rocky was responding to the spurs appropriately, observing them rather than being scared of them. Miley demonstrated to everyone, especially Lindy and Logan, that she was all right and that she wasn't scared to get back on Rocky by getting on the horse and taking a leisurely victory loop. But Logan announced to Amy that he was giving up horse training while Miley was riding with him. Logan also gave an explanation for his choice when Amy questioned it. At the start of the episode, Lindy waking up from a nightmare and calling out for her mother, as you may have already seen in the first look trailer for the episode. As Amy hurried to her daughter's side, Lindy was suffering from flashbacks to Miley's fall. It was obvious that the young girl was upset and on the verge of giving up on horses completely. Even so, Lindy urged Amy to get rid of her horse stuffies and pack them up. Amy made every effort to assist Lindy, including inviting Miley to the ranch to reassure Lindy that all was well. But it didn't appear to be effective. Lindy remained frightened. The whole home was kept awake by her nocturnal terrors. Amy's only chance was to go on Rocky herself and convince Lindy that she shouldn't be afraid to ride. However, Miley decided to demonstrate to her young pupil that she is not afraid, and that Lindy shouldn't be too after even that failed to persuade Lindy. Miley immediately retaliated against Rocky, and that appeared to be the turning point Amy had been waiting for. In a hint that she might not be done with horses yet, Lindy even urged Amy not to discard her horse. Shane's visitation was the main plot point of this episode. Tim and Shane's friendship was becoming stronger and stronger when they reconnected in New York in Season 16, Episode 6, and then met up at a motel in Kananaskis in Season 16, Episode 13. For this reason, they thought it would be time for Shane to pay Heartland a visit. Naturally, Tim was ecstatic for Shane to return to the ranch and reunite with his half-sisters, which is why he was obsessively planning every detail of Shane's stay. Still, Shane was anxious to return to the ranch and meet Amy and Lou. Lou and Amy were equally apprehensive about meeting Shane. Ultimately, it has been 10 years since the three of them last saw or communicated with one another. And given how unpleasant the reunion and subsequent exchanges between Shane, Amy, and Lou were, they had every reason to be concerned. Amy withdrew into her work, using her discomfort as a justification for avoiding spending time with Shane. Although Shane knew everything about Lou and what was going on at the ranch, Lou stuck her foot in it when she forgot the name of Shane's fiancée on the ride Lou, Shane, and Tim made to reacquaint themselves with the ranch. Though Tim appeared unaware of his son's problems, it was clear that Shane was beginning to feel a great deal of stress due to the distance between his three children. The situation became even more unpleasant when Shane heard Lou, Amy, and Tim quarrel over Tim pressuring his children to spend time with him because he wanted them to bond with him in a single weekend. After that, Shane was on the verge of leaving, telling his father that he felt the timing of his visit was simply off and that being at Heartland was just making him think about the house and family he had lost. However, Chloe, his fiancée, suddenly appeared at the Dude Ranch. But with Chloe present, the situation was just becoming more awkward. Up until the big picnic dinner, when Shane realized Lou didn't even know he was allergic to mushrooms, and everything he had been holding in for years came gushing out. Tim was driven to make things right the following day. Fortunately, Jack was there to advise Tim to quit pressuring his 3 children to bond. And Lou, Amy, and Shane found it out, on their own, I may add, when Tim eventually quit pressing. Amy and Lou came to the realization that everything Shane had said was accurate, and that they had to confront their anxieties and take action. To speak with Shane, they proceeded to the Dude Ranch. Shane was a little nervous when he saw them come. Amy and Lou later expressed regret and gave an explanation for their lack of communication. Although Lou and Amy's 10-year radio silence caused anguish, the apology undoubtedly improved the situation. Additionally, the sisters offered to host Shane and Chloe's wedding at the Dude Ranch after Chloe learned that their original plan had fallen through. Tim was overjoyed by it. Tim just told Shane that he looks forward to seeing Miranda again and meeting Shane's stepdad, despite the fact that Shane reminded his dad that it also means that Tim's former Miranda and her new husband will be traveling to Heartland for the wedding. An extremely uncomfortable encounter took a turn for the better at the end. The news that the Dude Ranch will host another wedding is also wonderful. Since Tim and Miranda have both moved on and are contentedly married to other people, I simply hope that their meeting won't be too horrible. Who knows, perhaps it will even serve as therapy for them. Lisa was back at the ranch in episode 4. In addition, the plot involving Jack and her in this episode was lovely and incredibly romantic. We learned early in the episode that Lisa has consented to chaperone and co-sponsor an adolescent community dance. Even Katie was looking forward to the dance, which has a vintage vibe. Thus, Lisa requested Jack to accompany her to the dance later that night. And following the sweetest little conversation between the two, Jack consented to go to the dance with Lisa. He appeared delighted to accompany his spouse to a dance. However, Lisa revealed the next morning that one of her sponsors had given her a gift, a 2-stepping class at her dancing studio, after learning that Lisa was bringing Jack to the dance. You know what? Jack wasn't too excited about that concept. Attending a class didn't seem necessary to him. They could already 2-step after all. Lisa succeeded in persuading Jack to accompany her to the lesson in some way. Lisa's statement that she is eager to try something new may have something to do with it. However, it was evident that Jack was unhappy and did not want to be there. Jack tried to make amends with Lisa for his actions during their lesson once they got home, but Lisa wouldn't have it. She even told Jack that she would prefer to attend the dance alone herself. Jack had to speak with Tim before realizing that his actions at the dance class had been unjust to Lisa. Even though Jack could have felt uneasy in the classroom, Lisa's desire for them to go through it together was truly what was at play. In order to learn how to 2-step correctly, he followed his own advice and scheduled a private lesson with the dancing instructor. He then surprised Lisa at the dance. He purchased a corsage as well. It was really lovely and romantic. Lisa was overjoyed that her spouse dared to venture beyond his comfort zone in her favor. In relation to the dance, I have already indicated that Katie was looking forward to it. She was less thrilled, though, when it came to trying to talk Parker into going to the dance with her, as such things weren't really Parker's thing. Since Parker resigned her job at the diner, Katie hasn't really seen much of her buddy. Therefore, she was hoping that the dance would be a good chance for them to get back together. Nevertheless, Katie was taken aback to learn that Parker's interests might have shifted without her knowledge when she met him at Maggie's later that day. Parker had a boyfriend that Katie was unaware of, and she was now hanging around with new individuals. Naturally, Parker recommended that Katie either go with Parker's group or just meet at the dance and hang out when Katie brought up the topic of the dance to her. However, it was obvious that Katie felt excluded from Parker's life. Katie texted Parker to let her know she wouldn't be attending the dance after observing Parker going shopping with one of her new friends, something Katie knew the old Parker would never do. Despite Katie's uncertainty about attending the dance, Lou consoled her daughter and even convinced her to go shopping with her to acquire a new dress. However, Katie ultimately made the decision to attend the dance, alone, if I may say so. And after a first-time freakout and some prodding from Lisa, Katie decided to take a chance, put up with feeling a bit uneasy for a while, and ultimately ended up enjoying herself at the dance. Despite her initial solo dancing, Brandon quickly saw her and approached her to ask if she wanted to dance. Being the courageous young lady that she is, Katie declined, but she did let Brandon know that he may dance next to her if he so desired. He also did. What is left behind? Parker and Katie. Parker did, however, briefly approach Katie at the dance to chat before her partner swiftly invited her to dance. She also didn't seem to realize that something wasn't quite right. Will Parker discover that Katie isn't happy with the current state of their friendship? Tough to say. However, I do believe that Katie will turn her attention to her new friends as well, now that Parker is occupied with other pals. Even the next episode's description mentions that Katie plans to purchase a used dirt bike. It will be fascinating to observe that for sure. Lou made an intriguing statement as Tim Amy, and the others were screaming at one another over Tim attempting to forge a link between Shane and his two daughters. You need to stop asking me for things I can't give you. You've done it my whole life. Lou said that it meant nothing, and that her mind wanders when she doesn't have an objective to focus on when Tim questioned her about it later. However, I feel like there's more to it than that. I just cannot identify it. Is it something from the pre-show period, either before or after Tim's breakup with his daughters? After Lou tells Tim that he should stop asking her for things that she can't offer him, there is a shot of an adolescent girl making a phone call from a phone booth in the Season 17 trailer. If this is the case, seeing a flashback of Lou as a teenager would be awesome, especially if it had to do with a traumatic event from her past.